This is the Australian Mobile DJ Podcast. In this series, we'll talk to them, get to know them, and learn from them. And here's your host, DJ Bevo.
Hello, DJ Bevo here, rocking the podcast world with a brand new series of chats with DJs from right around Australia. This time, we're not going too far down the road, the Sunshine Coast, home to many amazing nightclubs, pubs, bars. Its nightlife is, well, opened up recently when Ocean Street in Maroochydore has a series of clubs and pubs open for business. And one man that has occupied one of those venues is DJ Tim Talk, and he joins me on the phone right now. Hello, Tim. How are you?
I wish I had a voice like you, Bevo. Like
Really?
just listening to your introduction there with those nice, warm, dulcet tones. I'm like, I'm jealous already.
You could try and recreate that if you like on a telephone, but I'm not giving you much of a chance, am I?
No, the telephone does not sound too good. But anyway.
All good. Well, this is a podcast all about Australian DJs, and you have been pretty much a DJ ever since I've met you. Like, how did it all start for you? What was the interest and the fascination of music and being able to bring that to the masses?
So, like you, I was actually in radio first. So, doing radio work and then needing a bit of extra pocket cash, I suppose, is what it came down to. And, going to nightclubs all the time and then having that bit of radio experience and, emceeing in nightclubs, grabbing the microphone after a couple of drinks. And then my mate, actually, he worked at a cash converter store. And he rang me up one day. This was like in the 90s. And he rang me up and said, "Hey, Tim, I know you said you wanted to get into DJing. Well, we've just pawned these SL 1200 turntables." And I was like, all right. So back then I was an electrician by trade. And I was like, all right, so why don't I go and buy these SL 1200s, which I still have to this day.
Wow.
Right? So I know. So I've still got those two original turntables. And I couldn't afford to buy both of them at the same time because I was an apprentice. So I bought one, and then he actually kept the second one in the back room downstairs. And he was like, that I could have sold that second one like 10 times over. Because, they were a hot commodity. But even back then, they were a hot commodity, right?
It's not what you know, it's who you know, isn't it?
It always. Yeah, you're right, always.
Yeah.
So bought the first one, and I had a domestic CD player, and I remember the way that I taught myself to beat mix was to Robert Miles' Children on the domestic CD player, and I went to Central Station Records, and the first 12-inch that I bought to teach myself to beat mix was Dream World, Moving On Up.
Oh, yes. Yes, that was a radio favourite on B105.
Oh, yeah. So, and of course, you can't pitch bend on a domestic CD job, so it was a one-way mix. It was always Robert Miles into Dream World.
Oh, right. And from memory, what is the BPM?
138.
There we go. There you go. He's very well equipped on the BPMs. And back then, you didn't have a software program that counted it for you. You had to do it yourself with time.
Yep. So I literally tapped them out. Tapped them out, count them out, and then over a period of years, got the second turntable and pair of CD players and blah blah blah. That was my and then because of the emceeing in nightclubs. With radio, then eventually it was Chris Mothershaw at City Rollers was the first ever other DJ who gave me a chance to actually play. And he was one night, he was like, I want to go and he'll kill me if he hears this, but he was like, I want to go and make out with this chick. And he wanted 15 minutes, and he says, just play whatever you like. And I just literally got up and had a go, and that was the first time ever I played in a nightclub live.
Wow, it's kind of a similar story. Most people kind of get into it by accident in the chance that someone's sick or someone needs to do this or that, and you just basically throw it in the deep end and you learn to swim very quickly.
Yeah, and actually Chris couldn't believe the fact that I had taught myself to DJ. And it was a period of 2 weeks. I bought that turntable, and because that's all I had. As venues in the late 90s and early 90s only had turntables. There was no CD players because they didn't have that functionality. So if you didn't know how to mix on a turntable, you couldn't go into a nightclub and play it. So, and I remember Chris, the first time I did it was like, geez, you can do that. And I went, it is all I've been doing. I literally went home at night, practiced, and that's it.
There's no shortcut, is there? Like learning how to mix, it's not a quick learning experience. It takes a trained ear and patience, as you said, and practice, lots of practice.
It's funny because it's changed a bit now. Like the mechanical process of mixing isn't there like it used to be. Like, computers can do a lot of the job for you. So the process of mixing that you and I both, started with kind of doesn't exist there anymore. Now you can push that golden button to sync and it does the job for you. So I think it now comes down to, the experience of track selection, you know what I mean? Like reading the crowd that's in front of you and, working out what's the best song that's going to get this crowd moving and what's the best song that these people are going to react to and where do you take it from there?
And I guess there's a lot more tools now too, because back in the day it was just pitch, so you could, match the beats up and so forth, but getting the key right and matching was also a hard thing. But then now you've got all these effects as well, like flanges, and you can sample and you can jump from one part of the song to another, and loops.
Yeah, so that to me, so what I've noticed is the audience, their attention span, like everything has really shortened now. Like, back in the day, I remember, you'd get an 8-minute club track, when I first started to play and, you'd be stressing, 6 minutes in that you still haven't got the next song lined up and ready to go. And you'd be like, wow, yet now, you play a song and a minute in and you can see the audience start to lose, they're like, when's the next one coming on?
Yeah, but, they usually yell out, don't they? Play the next song. And I'm like, oh, jeez.
Always one.
Rude.
But to be honest, I think a lot of people do tend to complicate their mixes. Like, you listen to a lot of effects and a lot of that type of stuff. I still think a nice, clean mix from song to song will keep the audience longer. It's that whole thing about, the cleaner the mix, the less they know that the song is changing. So
yeah, what's the old radio saying? Less is more. The less you do, it means more to the audience.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, I like to scratch and, on the CDJs now, a fair bit. But I tend not to use too many effects. And if I do, they're to make the mix lift rather than to be a focal point in the mix.
So when it comes to effects, what do you actually use? Or is it mainly EQ based, depending on the song?
100%. You guessed it up. Yep, EQ. Filtering, maybe flange for effect if you want to lift a portion of the song, but mainly EQ and filtering is it. Like I find too many of the other effects just cloud the music, and why change the song too much from what people know? They know the song, they want to sing along or they want to dance along to it. So I try to not change it too much.
Yeah. I totally hear you there. I have a similar experience myself. Like to keep it simple, stupid. The old Kiss analogy as well. There's so many analogies. There's plenty going around. Now, when it comes to
Bevo, you know how we're talking about nightclubs?
Yeah.
Does that mean I can open a cider now?
Is it a Dickens?
No, it's a strong word, but you're trying to be funny, so you get 10 points. Here's the sound effect. Ready? Oh, it turns out I'm a weakling and I can't even open it. There we go. Could you hear that? It just sounded like a little blip on the radar, but, we can it sounds like you're chugging it now. So,
there we go.
Mental note, Lee, please go back and add sound effect of bottle opening. Thank you.
Yes, the beauty of editing audio.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So your transition from vinyl to CD would have been a pretty quick one because you did say that you were doing both at the same time when you were learning how to mix. How did the what was your first set of DJ CD players? Can you remember the model?
Yeah, of course. Don't be stupid, man. And I'm going to guesstimate that every DJ in the late 90s, early 90s, I think I bought my first pair of these, was in the mid to late 90s, was a Denon DN 2000F.
Yes, I remember mine well. I think they had the Mark II.
Now, it's one of, and here's the thing. I still have mine. So, actually, I have a DN 2500F.
That's right, yeah. That was the very fancy model with the jog dials and the extra key function.
A mutual friend of yours and mine, Matty White, bought my DN 2000F off me, and he wanted to learn how to DJ. And I was like, if I sell him my DN 2000F for back then, close to new price, because they really held their value well.
Yeah.
I think I sold it for only $200 or $300 under new price.
Yeah.
Then I bought the 2500, and I've still got it to this day as well. So I still have my original turntables and that original Denon CD player. The mixer I used was a Newmark, and I must say it was a piece of shit. So
I think we all started with a Newmark because it seemed like the best bang for buck. I mean, there was Pioneer and Technics and all that sort of stuff. They were pretty basic and they were really expensive.
They were. Like, I must admit, I'm so happy with the Pioneer mixers of today. That Newmark mixer, literally all it did was, there was no effects on it. It was just, EQ, level, up, down, that's it. Like, the thing that, I remember the very, very first mixer I had, which I remember was a Syntronic one. It only had two channels. So
Mobile DJ 101 was Syntronics.
I had to ditch that when I got the CD player because it only had two channels on that job. But that one there didn't even have split Q, so you couldn't even adjust the amount of Q to program balance. You know how you got that knob. So I remember when I got the Newmark, I was like, oh, geez, that just changed my world. I could preview a little bit of Q and have most of the master in the cans. How good's that? And
now the Pioneer. What's your piece of kit that you're running these days?
So my current live set is so I am using PC or MacBook when I'm DJing. So I use Serato.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to get video clips into my sets now, so I've transitioned into a complete video DJ. So awesome. my current live kit is a Pioneer DJM 900 Nexus.
Yep.
I have two CDJ 2000s and the Serato in my MacBook, and I also still use a different band. I use a Tractor X1 controller to do the video switching and to automate some of the effects, like for video switching, because of course I try not to touch the keyboard too often. So it means that if I have a controller there, I can use that to automate the video effects.
It's quite a compact controller, that Tractor one. I haven't seen anything really since that came out that's anywhere near as compact.
Yeah, and mate, it's a beautiful little setup. I've got that whole thing, and also two of my video kit, all packed up into two little suitcases, which I take to every venue with me.
Yeah,
takes about 15 minutes to set up, so I can literally rock on up in a venue in less than 15 minutes, be playing both audio and video.
When it comes to gigs, what's like your favourite gig that you've done in the past, like a highlight of your career? Like you think back and you think of like a big audience, crowd was going off, it was just epic.
See, Bevo, I've done from like, really small rooms to festivals, right? So how about I give you a bit of, of course, when I first started DJing, instantly, because of the radio connection and Wild FM Brisbane was, where I sort of started doing DJing, which meant that unlike a lot of DJs who, had to sort of show themselves, pretty much most venues were willing to give me a go, even though they'd never seen me DJ before, which was very fortunate, the fact that I could, I suppose. So I've done nightclubs, I've done pubs, I've done festivals. My favourite gig is actually New Year's Eve on the Sunshine Coast. And I've done it for probably close to 6 or 7 years in a row now. It's not the fact that it's a big festival or there's a lot of people in front of you. It's the fact that no matter what you play, and they're right into it, and because you've also got people of all ages, they're all, it's a family event. So, you've literally got, the mums and dads with their, dancing with their babies in their arms up on the hill there. And then you've got, the 18, 19s that are ready to start to go out. They're starting to, maybe coming pre-charged a little bit, they're starting to get there. And then you've got the under 18s that are realizing, oh, that's what DJing is like, or that's what it's like when you put two songs together and the song doesn't stop, and this is way better than when you're listening to the radio, you know what I mean?
So it's kind of like their first live DJ experience, and like you said, it's not the radio, this is really happening live, and the transition and the song selection, it's all live and real.
Yeah, I tend to like the gigs that are more intimate now, actually, to be honest. Like the ones that, like that's my favourite, but now it's the gigs that, you can see the people that are dancing in front of you, and when you play that song, they connect with, and you can get the response from them straight away. Like and as I've gotten a little bit older, I suppose it means I'm now playing more pubs than nightclubs, and which means that the age gap is from 18 to 80. So it's a big challenge to get that audience dancing and get them, get everyone in that venue up and dancing and keep them dancing for as long as the place is open, I suppose.
When it comes to song selection, obviously you kind of look around the room, you look at age groups, and you kind of almost have a guesstimate of what's going to work, what's not going to work. Is there a couple of songs that are always your go-to?
No.
Should you want to get people dancing that you're not sure if they will like it or won't like it?
No, but there were definitely the songs that I tried. So because every venue is different, and one thing I've learned is playing in all different places around Australia is there is not one particular song in one particular town that works. Like, you go to one town where there may have been a DJ that played a particular song for years on end because, resident DJs, I actually, I've been a resident DJ in nightclubs for many years, and I know that, there are songs that when you're a resident DJ that you get requested every week and you play every week. So as a guest DJ, when you go to some of these clubs, there's the random song that just pops on up that you go, shit, I had no idea that was going to work. And then it's the one that fills the floor, and then the one that you've, played in every other venue that works in every other venue, does not work in that particular venue. I like to try, a few different styles at early, just to see what gets them moving. And then from that point on, you sort of, then you realize, okay, read the crowd and, okay, where do I go from there? And it's, sort of reacting to those particular songs that do get them moving in that early stage.
Have you noticed there's a bit of a trend lately? I know years ago it was all top 40 music and what was high in the charts and whatever, but there seems to be, even with radio, the classics, the throwbacks seem to be making a comeback and standing the test of time and getting people dancing again.
Oh, yeah. Have you heard why that's happening? Do you know why that's happening?
I'd love to hear it.
So because of COVID and, the uncertainty in the world that's happening around right now, people are looking back to happier times in their lives. Whether it be the first time they had a kiss, the first time they got a root, the first time they got married, it's a lot of those time frames that people are looking back to in their lives, and they're looking back to those songs that happened around those times. So that's why some of the songs like, you've got, the cover of Charles and Airy, you've got, the cover of Blue. There's just a whole lot of covers in the top 10 at the moment. And it's because people are looking back to those times that were really happy. And they are the 10, 15-year throwbacks, because it's those people that, our age are looking back to those times that, we were a little bit younger and a little bit, a little bit more, disposable cash in our pockets than maybe what we've got now. And it's the very young people who these are songs that their parents were playing, and they're happier times from when their parents were really happy, and so that's why those songs are charting now, because with the uncertainty that's going on at the moment, it's a nice memory for people to look back on those times that they were really, there wasn't the crap that's going on in the world at the moment with politics and COVID. You know what I mean?
I find it really interesting how these songs come back and they're presented as new songs, and they've obviously got a different sound, and they sample the chorus, and the kids of today kind of go, I love this new song from blah 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 blah, and the parents are going, well, hang on, this is actually 20 years old and it was a hit by this person and a totally different sound. You'll have to listen to it, and they're surprised that it was an older song that's been revamped and redone for today's audience.
All right, so Bevo, when you were growing up, did you have a song that you used to love that when you played your parents were like, I remember that when it was young? Do you have a song like that?
It's always been Grease, Megamix, all those songs from 1978, I think it came out, but I'd watched the movie so many times as a kid. So, even at weddings and stuff, it kind of stands the test of times, and both the young and old know it and love it, I guess.
So I remember playing this. I remember the song too, "Lean on Me," Club New Boo, 87, right?
Yeah.
So this is Young and Innocent Tim. I had no idea that it was originally by Bill Withers, right? And by the way, now I really appreciate both of those two versions because they're just so completely different,
aren't they?
And both have really different meanings for me. Like Bill Withers amazing talent, big loss when he passed away. Like, but the Club Nouveau version was my first, and I remember listening to that and my dad going, "It still sounds good." I'm thinking, "Of course it does. It's brand new. It's only just out." What are you on? How many beers did you have at lunch today? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's pretty incredible though. They're like those early songs that have been played to death on the radio for many years, and all of a sudden they disappear and then they come back again. It's like a brand new audience, and it's rehashed and feel good again.
Yeah, but that's the wonderful thing about music, and playing them live in venues is. I think one thing that's forgotten by a lot of DJs is they're like, "Oh, we're going to play the latest hit, blah, 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 blah." Which, don't get me wrong, I was definitely in that stage for a long time. But now I like to have that connection with the audience of what's the songs that you can play that's going to give them the best night, the best memories of that particular night. And I think it shows too, because if you can keep them listening to the songs and mix them in a way that isn't too distracting, because I think that's a lot of the thing as well too. A lot of DJs don't think musically; they're thinking too mechanically. So what I mean by that is mechanically means just putting the songs together. Like, yes, I can make that song 122 BPM, and the next song will also be 122 BPM, and the key is correct. But it may be a shitty mix when you put those two together, because you didn't start the next song at the right time, which means you may have the bass line might be it's in key, but it may not fit. Or the vocals may be clashing or something like that. So I think a part of it is also, getting those two songs together in a way that they actually blend together really well. And I think that's also how you can keep the crowd longer. Because if you're doing a mix that is I don't want to say seamless, but if you're doing a mix that, because, everyone makes mistakes, but if you're doing a mix that's good, that, is not too jerky and not too, too much in your face, they'll stick around and keep them singing every now and then, and I think it's a good thing. And those memories of those songs, playing enough of them inside your mix to give the oldies something to sing along to, and the people that are just sort of reaching that 18, 19, 20 years of age, give them those new songs that they're craving, because I think the 18, 19, 20s, they do want to hear that music, and I think that's you've got to still keep them in mind.
You have summed up DJing what it should be right there. Programming, transition, it's all in this podcast.
Have we given away too much in this, or what's the go?
I don't think so. I think it's great that you've brought all this knowledge and wisdom to a new generation that has just started getting into DJ. And some people just seem to think it's just about the transition. It's just about the mix. It's not about the mix. To be honest,
as I said, look, I think the mechanical process, and I know I use that word because it is, you know what I mean? Like, the mechanical process of putting the songs together can be done by sync. You know what I mean? Like, I run Serato, so, I know just as well, like, but I can still vinyl mix, and you could still give me two records now, and I could put them together on my turntables, no dramas. But I still prefer to use Serato. And also too, this will let the cat out of the bag. I also run in sync. So how's that? Even though someone who started on vinyl, I'm not a vinyl wanker. Yeah, my dick's so big that I only mix on vinyl. Dude, to me, it's all about what's the end experience that you're offering to the people in the club. And you know what? I can offer a far better experience by running the computer in sync. Like, honestly, I can. So why not use it?
Tim Talk, absolute pleasure for having you on our Australian Mobile DJs podcast. Lots of insight there, lots of knowledge, and lots of great tips too to share with a new generation of DJs coming out these days.
So make sure you do come and see me live, because, I want to make sure that I can get repeat bookings in all my venues. So if you're listening to this, come and see me.
So anyone listening to this podcast, I'd love to reach out and ask you more. How do we get in touch with the Tim Talk?
So Facebook. You can hit me up. It's facebook.com/DJ Tim Talk. You can ask me any questions there. I always keep my Facebook open. Twitter is Tim Talk as well. And of course, you can email me, tim@timtalk.com.
Excellent. Tim Talk on the Sunshine Coast. This is the Australian Mobile DJs podcast. If you'd like to join us on Facebook, you can join the Australian Mobile DJs group, or you can send me an email, djbevo@me. Hope you've enjoyed the program. I'll talk to another DJ
The
next week.
Australian Mobile DJ podcast was hosted by DJ Bevo and produced by Matt Fulton Productions.